Okay, so we are live. Little technical difficulties to start here on this Friday. So wagwan, wagwan, wagwan. For those who don't speak Jamaican patois, that's hey, what's up? Welcome. Happy Friday to everybody. Okay, so we got a couple people joining in. Now I see why sometimes when people start the lives, they get up and move around before things get started. I see this now. Hello to Cord. Happy Friday to you as well, sir. Thanks for joining us today. I agree. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Okay, so I think we're going to get started. So, similar to the other day, I have another story to tell you guys. Not a fairy tale, not a fairy tale, but it does have a happy ending of sorts. So, recently, well, the news just broke yesterday. Two former competitors on the Biggest Loser show, they had weight loss surgery. They resorted to weight loss surgery, right? Jessicalimpert and Ramonmedeiros. They're celebrities, so I could say their names. You know, some years back, they went on the Biggest Loser show. Jessica lost an impressive 80 pounds. She went down from 254 to 174. Ramon lost even more, 154 pounds. He went from 355 down to 204. Pretty impressive, right? And they both did this in 5 months. So that'd be extreme weight loss, which, as we spoke about the other day, can have some negative side effects, you know, whether it's in your organs or other bodily functions, let's say. Now, cool thing is they didn't know each other before their show. They met, fell in love, got married, right? So they lost weight together. So it's pretty cool. And they maintained this for about 3 years. Then they started to gain some weight back, slowly but surely. You know, as Ramon said, we would gain 100 pounds, then they would lose 80 to 100 pounds again. And then they would start getting it back. And they said it became harder each time with the yo-yoing up and down, right? Now, at this point in time, you got to ask yourself, why would they resort to surgery, right? Well, in those couple of years, they really ballooned up. Limpert actually got up to 358. So remember, she started at 254 on the Biggest Loser, went down to 174. Years later, she ended up at 358. Medeiros, Ramon started at 355, went down to 204, and he ended up at 385. So they're actually worse off than when they started, right? Which is pretty incredible. Now, they had weight loss surgery January of last year, And Limpert, Jessica, she's lost 156. She now weighs 202. She's almost, it's pretty good. And Ramon, he's down to 255, right? As one of them said, the magic of the weight loss surgery is when we have a little treat, we don't want to go back for more because we feel satiated. Could this be so simple? We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Because as they pointed out, when they lost the weight, it kind of messed with them mentally as they were gaining it back because they became celebrity trainers, right? Part of the Biggest Loser ecosystem. They said it would feel weird at times when they would see their cutout promotional pictures, but the promotional pictures didn't look like what they look like because they put on weight, He said something very insightful. I want to get it exactly how he said it. So I'm going to read it. He said, we had a bad body image of ourselves, and we didn't think it was as bad as it was when we were massively overweight. It's pretty deep, So they thought badly of themselves, the way they look, but they still didn't really realize how bad things were. Sounds kind of crazy, right? But that is how it was. Because later he got sleep apnea and they started having some other health issues. And then they got to a certain point where they just felt surgery was the only option. They kept putting it off, thinking that, they'd be cheating. It's the easy way out. Now, as I said, we'd come back to this. Could it all be so simple? Nothing is that simple, right? There's definitely some serious problems from people who've had weight loss surgery. I remember hearing an interview with a gentleman some years ago, and he'd had weight loss surgery. I believe it was the lap band he did, stomach shrunk, and he sounded like a drug addict discussing a drug addiction because for those who don't know, when your stomach is shrunk like that, right, if you try to eat too much food, you'll be in physical pain. And this man was talking how he would know this thing he was going to eat was going to make him in physical pain, it's going to upset his stomach, and he would just suffer through it because he hadn't changed his lifestyles. Even though he had shrunk and his stomach physically was small and he couldn't eat more food, he would have shoved it down anyway. He would just take the consequences. Almost, again, it sounded like I was listening to an interview with a drug addict or something. He knows what he's doing is bad, but he can't help himself. And because you have a much smaller stomach now, it's harder to get nutrients in there, right? And studies show, the National Institute of Health, pretty well-established peer-reviewed type studies, that they have poor absorption of nutrients, It just changes the way your digestive tract works, right? It's not natural. The body wasn't made to be this way. We have thousands of years of evolution, right? It messes how they absorb calcium, vitamin D, and various nutrients. Talking about calcium, it's clear that it creates significant ongoing bone loss. Let me say that again, significant ongoing bone loss. This was pretty clear. Not sure what is tied to the calcium or not, but the end results are the end results, right? Which is bad if you're going to have these kind of problems. Then there's the excess skin. Of course, whether you lose it naturally or not, you're going to have excess skin if you're morbidly obese. But when you lose it super quickly, you're going to have more loose skin, because at least if you lose it naturally and slowly, there is a good chance. I mean, I lost 65 pounds, put it back on, lost again. I don't have a ton of loose skin. Granted, I wasn't losing 200 pounds, right? But because it took me like 2 years to transform, my skin tightened up, et cetera, right? I'm sure you guys have seen some of these before and after pictures of people transforming, and the ones that take a couple of years I'm talking about. And yeah, they might have loose skin for sure, but some of them you see no loose skin, right? And fixing that is expensive. Talking thousands of dollars here, thousands of dollars. And that can mess with you mentally. Some studies are sure it can lead to depression as a result of that. Then there's this thing called addiction transfer. Because if you don't address the root problem of how you got fat, right? It's just a band-aid approach. You remove this weight, but the lifestyle hasn't changed. So some studies have shown that some of these patients, weight loss surgery people, they're more likely to develop chronic drug use. I know, it's crazy, right? They just essentially become addicted to something else. Maybe it's not food now, it's a drug or alcohols. They actually show that as well. There's another study talked about this where they looked at people 1, 6, 24 months after surgery and found that they had an increased use of alcohol, right? And again, statistically shown, right? So there are numerous bad things, and there's actually more bad things than that. It's stuff I can't remember off the top of my head. So what happened? I saw a good comment in here. Somebody, they did it before naturally. Why did it resort to surgery, right? So first of all, they're doing what many of us have done, yo-yo up and down. Many of us have done this. Like I said, I lost 65 pounds, put every damn pound back on, unfortunately. As a matter of fact, I got fatter than I was initially when I lost the 65 pounds. Because what the studies show, it really is harder to maintain it than to lose it. I mean, losing it is hard, don't get me wrong. I remember this. But keeping it off really is hard. And a lot of people backslide. That's pretty common, You're fighting mentally. You have to reset a lot of things, figure out why you want to eat. It can get quite complicated. All right. So interestingly, when I saw this news yesterday, there is some, the media, sometimes they want things to sound very sensational. So they talked about a study, National Institute of Health, very respectable institution, published in the journal called Obesity. Again, also a very well-respected medical journal. So they talk about how in The Biggest Loser, they'd studied people who had gone on this contest, right? Or the show, rather. They looked at 14 contestants from season 8 over 6 years. Just good long period, right? And they say that the weight loss, the massive weight, was often unsustainable, and it was actually harmful to the metabolism of the people, right? They showed that 13 of the 14 regained some of the weight, and 4 of those gained back all or significant amount of what they had lost. Some cases they gained even more back, as we talked about earlier with Jessica. She was significantly fatter years after going on that show. They gave an example about the winner. He went from 430 pounds down to 191. It's dramatic transformation to win the show, right? But then he now weighs 300 pounds. And they say his metabolism is slow to the point where he burns 800 calories less a day. That should be for a man of his size. Now that's the 800 calorie difference. That is dramatic. I know in the other show the other day, I was showing you what the FDA talks about what you're eating, but if you imagine, it's as if you have 800 calories less to play with each day. Imagine if you just had a normal meal, a regular meal, an 800 calorie meal, and that would, at the end of the week, put a pound or two of fat on you. That's what this guy is suffering right now. So he's fighting with one hand tied behind his back, so to speak. All right. Now, what do we mean when we talk about somebody's metabolism slowing down, right? Pretty common way to measure this is your resting metabolic rate, which is the amount of energy, which is in calories, that your body needs to stay alive, to function. Just, moving around, just doing not exercising or anything, right? Probably to keep this simple, I have a very simple example. Let's see if I remember how to share the screen. So I've only done this once so far. Let us see. Oh, good. Perfect. Can you guys see my screen? Let me know in the chat if you can see my screen. Checking the chat over here. Yes, I can see the screen on my screen. I'm going to assume you guys can see the screen as well. All right. So this is a very simplistic example. These are not real numbers. I'm just using some simple math to illustrate a point, right? So let's pretend your resting metabolic rate was 2,000 calories a day, right? Let's say you ate the standard 2,000 calories for like a man. No change in weight. Now let's pretend you went to some crash diet, Biggest Loser style, and you somewhat damaged your resting metabolic rate. So it's now 1,500 calories a day. That's an extra 500 calories, assuming you're eating the 2,000 a day, right? At the end of the week, on average, you're going to put on a pound. I mean, it varies person to person, right? Again, this is just round figures to make things simple. Now imagine you damage it further and your RMR is 1,000 calories, right? You still eat 2,000. Now you're talking 2 pounds a week. So this is what that guy is kind of suffering with his 800 calorie that his body is burning less. It's as if he was up here and then suddenly he's somewhere down at the bottom, right? He was up here and then now he's down here. So he's in a bad space because you'd have to cut down the food he eats or significantly work out more to compensate for this crappy metabolism. I remember when, before I lost 65 pounds, I got tested my RMR and it was like around 1,000, which I remember at the time the nutritionist, she was shaking her head saying she's not going to sure how she's going to help me because that's like a child's metabolism. Pretty terrible, right? But anyway, we figured something out, or she figured something out, I should say, and I lost the weight. And then I got fat again. And when I got myself tested again, it was, I think, 1,100. Now it's like 2,000, 2,100. So I'm the opposite of that guy. I have a lot more wiggle room to eat and not get fat. So I just wanted to see you have a background there of RMR when we talk about metabolism, which will make sense as I continue explaining what is happening with these people, or what happens with them rather. It'll make a lot more sense, basically. So back to the obesity journal, right? They talked about, and I want to quote this just to make sure I get it right. They said the biggest loser participants with the greatest weight loss at the end of the competition also experienced the greatest slowing of their metabolism at that time. Those three last words are very important. At that time. You'll see why shortly. Again, so now they continue on. I'm talking about according to the study. The contestants begin the competition with an average resting metabolism, the RMR number. But as they diet and exercise at a rapid speed, again, extreme weight loss, to lose enough to win, their metabolism significantly slows down and never recovers. Never recovers, right? That is kind of crazy. To say that you never recover. That deserves the ear horn for sure. This is misleading, very misleading. To say it never recovers, very misleading. And they're quoting a study. They're quoting a study. This is what I'm reading, right? This is what they're saying in the study. Now, what I did was actually went and looked at the actual study because that didn't make sense to me, right? The never part or the at that, like I picked out on those key words, the at that time or the never recovers. So I went to the study. And because I can't memorize the study, I'm going to read what the study really said. Longer-term studies found no significant sustained reductions in resting metabolic rate following weight regain. The classic Minnesota semi-starvation experiment demonstrated a sustained suppression of RMR during a period of weight regain with control refeeding when subjects were prevented from eating above baseline levels, basically above that RMR number. So you starve them, semi-starvation, because you can't really do a scientific experiment where you really starve people. It's not ethical. But in semi-starvation, you can suppress that metabolism as long as you keep them from eating below that number, right? Okay. However, I'm going to read again. When the Minnesota experiment subjects were allowed to eat as much as they wanted to, they used the fancy Latin ad libitum. I had to Google that to see what the hell that meant. They consumed calories substantially above baseline levels, and the suppression of their resting metabolic rate rapidly reversed. Rapidly reversed. Similarly, a recent study demonstrated an elevated resting metabolic rate during a period of enforced overfeeding, following a period of underfeeding. This was coincidental with significant metabolic adaptation and weight loss. This is exactly what happened to me when I lost weight the second time. I was not eating much, but as I graduated, the more I ate, the more weight I lost. It's exactly what happened, right? So what they're showing here is kind of misleading, very misleading. Rapid weight loss, such as that experienced by the Biggest Loser participants, is sometimes claimed to increase the risk of weight regain, but recent studies have failed to support this idea, since weight loss per se was not observed to affect long-term weight regain. Not observed to affect it. An interesting thing they pointed about the Biggest Loser competition, right, is that The extreme and public nature of this weight loss intervention makes it difficult to really figure if this is to regular people like you and I, right? But what they said, all this publicity creates external accountability that contributed to their relative success at maintaining this significant weight loss over the term. Because to get on that show, you got to be really, really fat. And to do well, you got to lose a ton of weight. So this is why people usually don't successfully keep off weight just for their health. The doctor tells you to lose weight, you lose a little, you gain it back, or you don't lose any. Or to look better, you start losing for a while. The people who keep it off tend to have deeper reasons, or as in this case, this public pressure, because you're now famous, right? Or semi-famous at any rate. So you just pressured for you to stay in shape, right? So the study then says, in conclusion, we found the Biggest Loser participant regained a substantial amount of their weight in the 6 years since the competition, but overall were quite successful at long-term weight loss compared with other lifestyle interventions. Right? Contrary to expectations, the degree of metabolic adaptation at the end of the competitions was not associated with weight regain, which is kind of what I was saying earlier, right? So this is how sometimes you got to be careful when you read these things, especially for health and fitness. So why did the couple feel they had to resort to surgery? That's a good question. That's the proverbial $1 million question, right? The proverbial $1 million question. By the way, I forgot to mention this earlier. For those who want to actually get involved audio-wise, if you want to come on, get on backstage, and I'll bring you up. You don't have to put on your camera, but if you would like to vocalize your opinion and not just type up an opinion in, you can hit that link, and we'll bring you backstage. Let me try that again, just to make sure that goes through. Yeah, hit that link. I'll bring you up. Okay, so I got one gentleman here. So, Zach, I see you're backstage. StreamYard is saying they will need to connect their mic before you can bring them to the stream and or their camera. Of course, like I said, you don't have to show yourself, but if you want to, become internet famous, feel free to turn on the camera. So let's see, what have I been missing in the comments? Yeah, hard to reverse bone loss. Yes, that would be problematic. It's difficult to go. That would be problematic, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question about they did it the natural way. So why resort to surgery? So as I was saying earlier, they went down, they went down the shore, they went up, they went down, then went up again, even bigger than before. And in reading the interviews with them, they sounded frustrated at this point in time, the constant up and down, up and down, up and down. So they resorted to the surgery. The problem is, well, some people are successful with it. It's by and large, I would say from all the research I've done, it's not a good option, especially if you've not addressed the underlying root cause of the problem. Your stomach is shrunk, you have all these other limitations, the absorption of material. You can be suffering, or you switch to some other form of addiction, especially if you didn't deal with the problems you had. If you're addicted to food, right? You couldn't control yourself before, then you may find some other addiction. So yeah, too hard. That's pretty much what they said. Thanks for the question. They essentially said they'd given up. This is where, in my opinion, lack of knowledge can hurt some people, right? Because nowhere did I read that they were under some kind of really professional training, let's say. Of course, when they were on The Biggest Loser, they had training, but did they have mental training to deal with the post, all that rapid weight loss? Plus, losing it that fast is not healthy, as we've discussed before. Increase the chance of you probably regaining it. And even if temporarily your metabolism is messed up, because how many people know that they need to eat more food to lose weight? I mean, that was a shock to me the first time I heard it. Eat more to lose weight. That's counterintuitive because it was your eating more that got you fat. So how can eating more make you need to lose weight? This is where getting a professional would be useful. I'm surprised they didn't do that, since they would have had access to people like that. Or maybe they tried. They didn't. I didn't see that anywhere that they had tried such people, to be honest. But yeah, lack of knowledge definitely holds some people back. Yeah, I got a good comment from Zach. I guess he sent it in private chat and not the comment section. Yeah, I was doing that same mistake when I first tried this live stream, wondering why it's not showing up in the comments. So he pointed out it's not just the calories, it's the quality of the food too. I agree. You can eat 500 calories of cupcakes. It's different than 1,000 calories of rice and chicken, right? The cupcakes, yeah, you do have calories in count, but eventually just eating cupcakes alone, nothing good is going to come of that, right? No protein, the ton of sugar, you're going to mess stuff up. You'll eventually pay the price for this. So it's not just the calories. That's a very good point, Zach. Thanks, Zachary. Thank you. Very good point. Actually, can I actually move this to the comments? Let me see. Oh yeah, I guess I can do this. Yeah, that's what he was typing there. So yeah, guys, if you want to send a comment, send it in the comment section. Private chat, I guess, is for private chat. So yeah. So personally, what I think they should have done is kind of what I'm saying: get some professional help, right? Because clearly, where I feel they were most likely failing is the mental aspect, because they lost a ton of weight, they gained it, lost it again. So they clearly show that they can lose the weight, right? Keeping it off is the problem. Keeping it off. Yeah. If you have a bad relationship with food, then yeah, bad things are going to happen. Bad things. They didn't say what kind of diets they did or what exactly they did workout wise. That was not shared. I couldn't find that online. But I'm suspecting that the mental aspect is the part that was missing, right? I know it was missing for me previously. If I want an ice cream cake sandwich, I eat it. I'm not gonna beat myself up about it. If I see myself going crazy on them, I'll then throw them in the garbage to control myself, so to speak. But I know if you try to restrict yourself for too long, eventually you'll snap, you'll break, and then you'll go on a bender for whatever your vice is, so to speak. Better to have that glass of wine than say you're never drinking again and then go get drunk or becoming an alcoholic. So let's see. Anyone want to come on backstage? See, am I missing any other comments in here? As a matter of fact, thinking about it, I remember reading some that I thought was interesting. Ramon said, we didn't really know how to accept our bodies, and we didn't really know how to gauge what we were feeding and seeing. So in our eyes, we didn't look the way we wanted to look, or things didn't happen what we thought was going to happen. In some of these quotes, like the other one I read earlier, he said we had a bad body image of ourselves and we didn't think it was as bad as it was. It's almost like in these interviews, rather, they're reaching out for help still. It sounds like a person saying, I need help. Psychologically, I'm speaking. Because he says, so in our eyes, we didn't look the way we wanted to look, or things didn't happen what we thought was going to happen. It reminded me of something my second coach told me. He said, if I keep comparing myself to bodybuilders, I'll be unhappy. As he pointed out to me, those people never miss cardio day. It's a job. They have incredible genetics. They have all the time in the world. They have professional coaches. This is why they look the way they look, right? It's not an accident. We all can't look like that. Now, if you compare yourself to the old you, or hell, just John Doe or Jane Doe, yeah, you look better than most of them. For sure, you look better than the old you, and you'll be happy, right? But if you compare yourself to that Instagram person, then yeah, it's not gonna end well. You're gonna be beating yourself up. But the old you would kill to look like the new you. The old you'd be so happy. You got to remember that. If you've lost 50, 100 pounds, well, hell, 20 pounds. When you're 20 pounds heavier, you were definitely unhappy, right? So be grateful, I would say. Be grateful. Sounds like the coaching post show. No, I don't think so. I think that's one of the criticisms of The Biggest Loser. Actually, I know they don't. That's one of the criticisms of The Biggest Loser, that they don't provide coaching post show and mental coaching as well. They don't do that. Good point by D.I. Grifter. Thanks. Sounds like they didn't have realistic expectations. It's a good comment. They did not. I agree. Oh, great question by Skincare Do's and Don'ts. So many people desire quick weight loss. I'm going to bring this up on the screen. So many people desire quick weight loss. What is a healthy amount of weight to lose each week? Generally speaking, it's 1 to 2 pounds a week. Anything greater than 1 kilogram, which is 2.2 pounds, basically anything greater than 2 pounds is considered extreme weight loss, which if you don't do that over time, it's unhealthy. I mean, when you start losing, you may drop 5 pounds, 10, depending how big you are initially, but to do that month after month, then that's not healthy. That's definitely not healthy. You don't want that. You do not want that. D.I. Grifter coming with the awesome thing. I like this. The Biggest Loser is like that old show, Pimp My Ride, where everyone ends up worse off afterwards. Nice. When I watch YouTube videos, I would never read the comments, but a good friend of mine was telling me the comments are hilarious. So I've started to read the comments and I realized, yeah, they can be pretty hilarious and informative sometimes. Yeah. People can get really creative in the comments. Like, how do I? Yeah, they can get really creative in the comments. I found that addiction transfer interesting. That I honestly did not know of before, but it kind of makes sense because sometimes I know when people go for drug rehab, they try to get them into healthier things such as working out. And sometimes those people can then become obsessed with working out, let's say, because they already have an addictive personality or they're predisposed to, certain things like that. And they may just head down a bad path. They look fantastic, but in their mind, they don't look fantastic. And you see them at the gym and they're all covered up, baggy shirts, baggy everything, male or female. To them, they're not happy with how they look, but most people would kill to look like that. So that addiction transfer, that was a surprise. I honestly didn't know that before. That was a surprise. I would have never guessed that. Never guessed that. And then, not the surprise is, like I said, how the media is spinning this thing as if their only option was the surgery. They're like, congrats, great job. They've been on a long journey. Now they're successful with the surgery. And they were kind of spinning it as well. Being on the show permanently damage your metabolism, and they had no other option. But as I pointed out earlier, the science, they cherry picked. Well, actually, they just reworded the study because I couldn't find anywhere in the study where it says permanently. Like I said, they use keywords at that time, but it never recovers. That's nonsense. That didn't make any sense to me. It's funny. One of the famous trainers, what's her name, Jillian Michaels, I think. She said in an article that, yeah, she didn't believe in that study, but I guess she didn't read the study. I mean, she was right in that what they were claiming the study said was nonsense. But yeah, the study never said that. The study never said that. Now this is a brilliant comment. People tend to want to lose weight for a specific event instead of losing it for life. So they want a quick fix, not a lifestyle change. Those last two words, lifestyle change, that's the key. This is why when I lost 65 pounds, I got fat again. I did not make a lifestyle change. I thought I had, but I really did not. Whereas this time, yeah, I put on some pounds here and there, but I lose them back, but it's only a couple. Because it's a lifestyle change, right? It's not, I don't diet, I don't work out. Working out for me is like brushing my teeth. It's something I do. Yeah, I stopped doing it for a while. Well, I keep brushing my teeth, but I mean, stop doing workouts for a while, but not to the point where I get fat again. I start to feel off. So, yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. I don't feel like I'm working out. I just feel like I don't know. It's sometimes fun, sometimes not fun, but it doesn't feel like a job or a task. I guess that's probably the best way to put it. And eating healthy, like I said, I'll have my ice cream cake sandwiches, or I'll go crazy on something else. But if I do it for too long, I'm going to start to feel bad again. And then I just course correct. It just kind of happens naturally. So what Tony's saying here is the critical part, right? They lose for specific, like I was talking about earlier, you lose to look good or for an event. But then that's not enough. That's just not enough. It's not enough. You've not made a lifestyle change. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was talking about a friend of his that friend, he had some kind of weight loss surgery, but he hadn't changed his lifestyle. So he suspected that friend will, eventually put back on the weight. I mean, even these people who do the surgeries try to get people to lose some amount of weight before they did the surgery on them. At least the fully transparent ones, at any rate, because they know, they know what's going to happen. And worst of all, I shouldn't say worst of all, one of the other problems is when you take away this fat, right? Surgery. As far as your body is concerned, it's as if it had some kind of attack, a traumatic event. So this fat was taken out, stolen from it, and your body is like, we want that fat back. Give it back to us. So if your lifestyle is still bad, when you get that fat back, it's going to come back in bad places. It's going to go deep inside deep inside you, like maybe around some internal organs. So it's harder to lose, or it may come back in your face. You guys might have heard of these stories or seen it. Somebody did one of these, I don't know, mummy makeovers, and they look worse than before they were fat, because the fat comes back in their neck, their back, weird places. Weird places. And then it becomes harder to lose. So you remember I mentioned earlier, they said it was getting harder to lose the weight. Every time they would go down, because they weren't going on 5-10 pounds. They would say, go down 80, go up 100, go down and go up again. They're telling the truth. It was harder each time. They're messing with their metabolism, and the fat, every time the body brings it back, it's like, yeah, let's make it harder for you to lose this stuff. And they wouldn't know about overfeeding tactics. There's so much I'm sure they didn't know, especially because it appears they weren't being coached, right? So, yeah. Now, here's a good question about bone loss. Oh, can you recover from bone loss? D.I. Griffiths, can you? No, I did not cover that, but yes, you can recover from bone loss. Weight-bearing activities help with that. but it cannot be completely reversed. So that's the one caveat there. Osteoporosis cannot be completely reversed, right? You can improve it, but yeah, there are things you can do. Just weight bearing exercises. What it doesn't have to be lifting weight, but walking, climbing stairs. You can slow the bone loss there. You get the things. I'm sure there are drugs as well to help with weakening bones and whatnot. So you can stop, which allows the bone the chance to rebuild itself. You won't get back to the way things always were. It's kind of like 16-year-old bones are better than 80-year-old bones, right? Youth is on your side. So that's a pretty good question. And ironically, this is part of the bone problem is because you need vitamin D to help absorb calcium. And one of the side effects of this weight loss surgery is problems with what? Absorbing vitamin D, right? And calcium. Yeah. And that's permanent because of the surgery. That's not something you're going to undo, right? So, yeah. I mean, working out will definitely slow this down, but they were pretty clear in that NIH of ongoing bone loss. I remember that. Ongoing. Did you hear about fat freezing to lose fat? Yes, I've heard about that. There's some good science on that. It can work, but I remember talking to a guy who owns a place down here who does that, and he said it's usually ironical for the people that don't really need it. By that he meant people that actually are really fat, it's almost useless. The people he saw it worked great on, those people who look good, they just wanted to look better. Like they were going to step on stage or just wanted to increase their handsomeness or their beauty, right? To get a little bit tough love handle spot. And we're talking people that already look pretty good. If you're already fat, as in fat, yeah, not much is going to change there. Not much is going to change, to be honest. This was a pretty good question. Maybe we can do a show on that. And even those companies, they give you warnings. If you Google them, they give you clear warnings. You know, there is the risk that if you do this product to freeze the fat, it can come back in bad places. Like I was talking about earlier, it could come back in your face, your nose, all kind of disgusting stuff. Because again, the fat is being stolen from your body. Your body doesn't know you went into this surgery. All it knows was attacked and something stole its fat. And it's like it wants to get that stuff back, right? It wants to get that stuff back. So that's a potential problem there. Serious potential problem. So, yeah. Yep, hit that like and subscribe button. I agree. Definitely do that. Hey, I forgot my little banner. Hit the like and subscribe button. I'm playing around with these things. Yeah, so that's a good question there. Let's see what else we've got. Yes, I saw this. It's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine. She's a trainer just before this show, and she was talking about this. And I said, wait a second. I remember seeing some brief clip thing, a blur, but I thought it was some fake thing. It was one of those like crazy spam stories or something. So I didn't even click on it because I was telling her I'm doing this show today, and I saw it in the news yesterday because I was trying to get her to come on. But she was like, give her advance warning. I'm like, yeah, well, the news just broke. And she's like, well, what did you hear about this other thing? I was like, oh, that's real? Did not know about this. That's something to look into. I think that's probably my next show idea right there, since it's trending right now. I personally have tried the fat freezing stuff and it did actually work. But again, I was already lean when I did it. I mean, I could see a difference for sure. It was a hard to reach area, I guess, or hard to affect area. So, and there's legitimate science on this stuff. But again, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true, right? If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And everybody wants a magic pill, magic potion, but more than likely, yeah. Can there be are there things that help you speed things up, assist you, supplement? Yes. But you can't get something for nothing. You can't have your cake and eat it too. There is yeah, there's gonna be a price to pay for that stuff, right? There's usually a catch. There's usually a catch to this stuff. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. Not that simple. Let's see what else we got. Oh, we got a new comment here. Yes, words to live by. I agree. So yeah, I think I'll do a show on the fat freezing thing. Check into that model. What exactly happened there? And then there's also cryo, like whole body cryo, which is not fat freezing, but it helps with inflammation and recovery. Can even improve your sleep. So there's different things going on there. Supplements that give you extra energy. Amino acids can do that. Amino acids can definitely do that. Like taking some essential amino acids with branched chain amino acids that can give you some energy. Caffeine. I mean, caffeine definitely gives you energy. It was once banned by the International Olympic Committee for a reason. It's instant energy. I mean, it blocks adenosine, which is what makes you feel sleepy and makes you know to go sleep, right? But again, even that, there's a catch there, right? Because it's blocking something, so you're artificially keeping yourself going. So it can be used, but used with caution, I would say. What other good supplements are there for energy? Vitamin B12, that gives energy. It's one of those few vitamins when I take it, I could actually feel the difference. Some people are vitamin B12 deficient. There's several supplements that can give you energy. But one thing is you don't want that to be a crutch, right? Gives you energy because you didn't sleep enough, or gives you energy because you're not working out. You don't want to be using Red Bull to get through the day. Oh. Garcinia Cambogia. That was hot some years back. Everybody was talking about it, but yeah, like every other diet fad, it was just a fad. I didn't realize it's been coming back. But I remember it was hot like 2014, 2015, 2013, 2014. It was this new hot thing. People talking about, oh, the fat is just going out of their system and this and that and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, that's disappeared too. You don't see that really sold in weight loss products anymore. Again, another fad, right? You know, if these things were really that effective, you would see them everywhere in the news, the mainstream news. By mainstream, I mean mainstream. It doesn't matter the politics behind it, whether it's liberal or conservative. Mainstream news would carry it. You'd see it everywhere. Your doctor would recommend it. Your doctor would recommend Garcinia Cambogia. It would be on CNN, Fox News, etc., etc., etc. But people love the gimmicks, right? They love the gimmicks. Good question. At the end of the day, I forget who asked the question earlier, pointed it out rather. They lost the weight multiple times with just eating right and working out. Nothing beats that. Nothing beats that. And as Tony mentioned, lifestyle change, that's the key. Because then it's permanent. You're not dieting, you're not working out. You just made a lifestyle change. So like when you were a kid, you were not fat. You ran around, you did things. Sure, you had youth in your side, but you are probably very physically active. See, this is a pretty good ratio. I think we have 10 people, or we've had up to like 12, and we've gotten like 7 likes. So that's pretty good. Okay, so last call for anybody that wants to get up here. Let me see, where is that link? Mm-hmm. Oh, thanks for the super chat. Yeah, cool sculpting plus this model with her unfortunate sounds like an accident. Definitely do a show on that. All right. Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything, and I see nobody here backstage. And one guy backstage, but he had to run. Actually, I think he was just clicked the wrong link, actually. So thanks again for joining me here Friday evening. Have a wonderful evening, and yeah, come back for another show. Thanks. Have a wonderful evening. Bye, guys. Or as we say in Jamaica, laters. Me a go long now.